What's up everyone, I hope everything is going well. Today is going to be a more light-hearted video about some of the most interesting trolley problems I could find, and then I will explore and give some of my ideas and thoughts about them. But firstly, some personal notes. Look at this awesome mug that I found, or I made it. So Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit, obviously haven't read it, and I put this quote from Anton Chekhov on the back. The lady at the print shop wasn't too fond of me. I just wish I could get it in a teacup. I don't like these buckets that they give me. But in any case, let's get on to the first one. So if you don't know what the trolley problem is, it's basically this. A trolley is hurtling down a track with people on the track. There are two tracks and you have a lever to divert the trolley. If you do nothing, then the trolley kills 5 people. If you pull the lever, then you save 5 people and only kill 1. We use scenarios like this in philosophy as a tool to test theories and how well they stack up. Most notably, the trolley problem is associated with the utilitarian school of thought, which says life is governed by the feelings of pleasure and pain. Thus, we should try to make decisions that maximize overall pleasure and minimize overall pain. So, in this specific trolley problem case, saving 5 people over 1 brings more overall pleasure than pain. So choosing the 5 is obviously the right answer in the utilitarian view. But utilitarianism does have its problems, which is why there are more and more absurd versions of the trolley problem to test the validity of the utilitarian school of thought. For instance, where the 2-track scenario stays the same, but now to stop the trolley, you have to push a fat man in front of it to stop it. Most people who said yes in the original version would now say it's not right to push the fat man, but the outcome still stays the same. So it's quite interesting. Okay, so on to the first one. So this is the Ship of Theseus trolley problem. If you do not pull the lever, 1 person will be crushed to death instantly. If you do pull the lever, the trolley will divert onto a 1,000-mile stretch of track with 1 person tied down at the end of it. As the trolley rolls down this 1,000-mile track, a crew systematically switches out every piece of the original trolley with a replacement part. Did the trolley, which you diverted, kill the man? Okay, so some of you won't know what the Ship of Theseus is. So let me break it down quickly for you. There's a ship, and the ship is in service for a very long time, let's say 100 years. And every year or so, they fix the ship. It goes in for a service. A rope here, a plank there. Over the span of 100 years, they've replaced every bit of the original ship. So the question is then asked, is it still the original ship, the Ship of Theseus? A quite fun thought experiment. I don't know who said this, but someone once joked and said, "This is the best broom that I've ever bought. It lasted me 20 years, and I only had to replace the handle twice and the head once." So this is quite funny because it's basically the same joke as the Ship of Theseus, but only in a miniature. Okay, so on to the trolley problem. So this time when you divert the trolley, it takes some time to reach its next victim. But by the time it gets there, it's a completely different trolley. So the question is, are you still at fault? This explores the outer reaches of responsibility, and I'd say. Think back to COVID. You were asked to stay in home to protect others. You didn't listen. You set off a chain reaction that made 10 people sick. All 10 survived, but the 11th person down the chain dies of the virus. Does that make you responsible? It's very specific to this trolley problem, because remember, the virus mutates and changes over time. So one could argue, it's not even the same virus that you set in motion in the first place. And this is where it gets genuinely interesting philosophically, because the same puzzle shows up all over the place once you start looking for it. Take a river. You can never step in the same river twice, since the water's always moving. Yet we still call it the Mississippi River for its entire length and its entire history. Or take your own body. Nearly every cell you've made gets replaced over the years. So are you even the same person who made a promise or a decision decades ago? The same with someone in prison. Over a few decades or years, you have changed completely. Even on a physical level, every cell replaced by every other cell. Are they then still liable for their crimes that they have committed many years ago? There's this one philosopher, Derek something. He built an entire theory of personal identity around this exact problem, arguing that what matters isn't some unbroken sameness of the object or person, but the continuity of the chain connecting one state to the next. A company will still be held liable for contracts that it signed many years ago, even if they have changed their name, their branding, CEO, and the whole personnel. So what matters is the chain of events that follow, and the initiator of that chain can be held liable for what happens regardless of its physical properties. So that said, we should find the first COVID victim and burn him at the stake. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so next we have the nuclear trolley. Okay, the nuclear trolley problem. The trolley is heading for 5 innocent people. If you pull the lever, it will be redirected towards an empty track coated with uranium. Because of chemistry or whatever, there's an extremely low but still non-zero chance that the trolley will react with the uranium, sparking uncontrollable nuclear fusion and then immediately the end of our Earth. Do you pull the lever? This lets me think of that one thought experiment. It goes something like this. The patient has an illness. I don't know what illness. And if she takes a pill to cure it, there's a 99.9999 chance that the pill will harm her further and the people around her. But she takes it anyways, and it works, landing on the 0.001. Does that still mean that the choice she made was ethical? Was it still moral? Well, in our everyday society, when someone commits a crime, even for a small gain for himself, let's say like shooting a target on someone's head to win a lottery, he would still be prosecuted, even if no one else is harmed, and the lottery win would be a win for society. And now you might say, well, that is the utilitarian view, so it must be the right one. But what if lowering the sanctity and value of the overall human life would be a net loss for everyone? So I would say there's a few different ways of looking at it, but I think in this personal case, or my personal case, I would run over the 5 people. Okay, and then lastly, we have the Trolley Man. So it reads as follows. Oh no, that ship with all those people is sinking. Don't worry, I can save them. I just need to kill one of you to activate my powers. And that is the wonderful story of Trolley Man. So this is basically a humorous spin on the original trolley experiment. It starts with the classic 1 guy versus 5 on the track, but then you basically have to increase the scenario but still keep the outcome the same until your, let's say, participant says no. Okay, this version of the trolley problem is obviously wrong. There is this one version where a doctor has 5 patients in front of him. Every patient needs a different organ. Can he then just go and kill one of his patients in the waiting room and harvest their organs to save the 5 people on the operating table? The percentage that I've seen, the overwhelming majority of people obviously disagree with this statement. This one, or this trolley problem cartoon, just puts a funny spin on it with a bit more lives at stake. A lot like the Hunter virus ship. I swear they sunk that thing after the world experienced COVID. But in any case, the trolley problem does touch a lot on rights, like laws, and human rights, for instance. We like to think that morality is absolute, and so to a further extent, laws and human rights. But if there was a terrorist that had a passcode to a bomb, and the bomb is under New York City and will blow up in the next 10 minutes, then obviously I think the right answer is, we should violate his right to privacy and get the passcode, or even torture, if you want to go a bit farther. Everyone says that, yes, okay, that's justified. So does rights actually exist then? If enough people agree and say, well, everyone has a right to privacy, but we can say otherwise if we don't, vibe with the scenario, does that mean that rights don't actually exist in the way that we think they do? The world is overwhelmingly utilitarian, but not always. It has a few shortfalls. We seem to value, in some cases, more the length of the chain of responsibility than the actual raw math of the outcome. In other cases, we will tend to mention fairness and a sort of humanism in terms of the sacredness of human life. For example, there's this one story. It's called The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. So Omelas is a utopian city. Everyone is happy, healthy, and flourishing. But the entire city's prosperity depends on one condition. A single child is locked away in the dark basement or a dark cellar. She or he is kept in filth and misery, and everyone in the city knows it. If the child were ever to come free, then the whole utopia would collapse. Most citizens learn about the child once they're old enough. They feel horrified and then accept it. Because the math works. One child suffering for thousands of people being happy. A few people, though, can't accept this trade-off. They quietly leave the city and never come back. The ones, who walked away. Most people will obviously disagree with this utopian city, and they will all have their own rhymes and reasons and then ultimately walk away. Because I can think that we don't have societies where we torture people. For example, medical experiments where you test on children. And we can say, well, this is for the benefit of society. Like I says, in utilitarianism, the only thing that matters is the math. But as given, there is obviously a few shortfalls of utilitarianism. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your comments, opinions, whatever in the comments. Like and subscribe. It really helps the channel a lot. And I'll catch you in the next one.